As for now, in our project, we have a way to specify amount of time we like to spend on a particular activity by using this select box. And after we're going to measure the time we have already spent on this activity. The remaining time we have to spend on this activity will be decreasing, and would be good to display this remaining time next to this select box, somewhere in here. Because once we set the time we need to spend on a particular activity, and later we're gonna start measuring this time by starting this stopwatch, the remaining time will be slowly decreasing. And this decreasing time we're going to display within activity item component. So for now, let's just do a very basic thing. I'm gonna switch over to activity item component, and right below the base select component, let's create a div and put arbitrary number in here. As we can see, this number appears. So now we're gonna position this number so that select box and this number will be on the same line. But firstly, let's apply some styles to the div which wraps this number. We're gonna make this div flexible container, where elements will be vertically aligned in a center, corners will be rounded, background color will be purple. We're gonna make horizontal paddings 2 units. Let's make font monospaced, font size will be extra large, and the text color will be purple. Let's say 600. So this is what our number looks like right now. And now let's add a few classes to the wrapper, which wraps select box as well as our new number. To place both this element on the same line, we're also gonna make this wrapper flexible container, and the distance between child elements will be 2 units. And now, just to move our new number to the right edge of the screen, we're gonna make select box occupy all available space within the flexible container. And it's a matter of assigning only one class called grow to the base select component. And now we got this number exactly where we need this to be. But what we need to display here instead is the value which is stored within seconds to complete property of activity object. And of course, once we're gonna reset value in this select box, seconds to complete property gets value 0, and once it's 0, we're gonna completely hide our new element which shows remaining time. So let's do just that. We're gonna use if directive on this div, and as a condition, we're basically going to check if seconds to complete property contains value other than 0. In this case, we're gonna show this number, otherwise it will be hidden. So initially there is no number to the right, as we can see, but after we select some value in this select box, that number appears. And of course, after resetting the value in the select box, the number disappears again. So let's just use this property seconds to complete to show this number within this div. We're going to interpolate the value of seconds to complete property in here. But we don't want to display seconds in a raw format. Thankfully, we already have a function which can format value of seconds for us. It is called format seconds. So let's use this function in here. Let's scroll to the very top and write down an import for format seconds function. We're importing this function from functions module. And as we can see, now this time shows in a proper format. And now that we got our new element exactly at the position where we need this to be, it's time to extract this whole markup into its own component. We're going to call this component activity seconds to complete. And as we always do, we're gonna create this component within components folder with the name activity seconds to complete. Here we'll create an empty template tag and paste that markup. And now we need to move this if directive and place it directly on the activity seconds to complete component where we use it. Since now we're gonna conditionally render this component, and therefore that function format seconds should also be moved within activity seconds to complete component. Let's create an empty script tag in here and paste that import of format seconds function. And just because within the template of this component we're referencing activity object, we need to accept this object from outside. So let's use define props macro and say that we're gonna accept one prop with a name activity. This prop will be required to pass. The type of this prop will be an object, and the validation function will be is activity valid. Of course, this function to be used within this component firstly needs to be imported from validators module. Let's write this import in here. And then let's go back to activity item component and pass this new prop with the name activity. And finally, before checking this out in the browser, we need to import this new component within activity item component. In here, let's write down an import for activity seconds to complete component. So let's take a look in the browser. Currently, activity item component does not contain activity seconds to complete component. But once after I choose the value by using this select box, that VIF directive will be reevaluated, which will cause activity seconds to complete component to appear. And after resetting the value, component disappears again. And by now, from visuals perspective, our new component looks pretty good. But of course, we haven't done with it yet, because we haven't really written any logic to make this component display remaining time dynamically, while we're gonna measure the time by using our stopwatch. So in the next lesson, we're gonna continue working on this component.